Tes tes. Bapak kirim chat di Zoom, tolong dibalas ya. Tes tes. Budian, selamat siang. Boleh tolong direspon, Budian Sulistianing Tias dari Jateng. Tes tes. Pak Dendi, terdengar nggak?
Suaranya agak kurang jelas, agak dinaikkan sedikit.
Tes. Tes. Keluar. Tes.
Tes tes, Pak Dendi, cek.
Halo ya, kecil suaranya ya? Baik. Kang Ismar udah ada, makasih nih udah ada.
Iya, betul kecil.
Tes tes. Am I audible? Bapak Ibu, terima kasih sudah hadir. Kami sedang mengecek suara. Mohon bisa direspon kalau ada yang mendengarkan. Suara saya terdengar atau tidak ya?
Terdengar tapi kecil.
Kemudian yang lagi unmute, suara saya terdengar atau tidak ya Budian ya? Budian Sulistianing Tias.
Terdengar, Mbak.
Oh ya Allah, baiknya. Terima kasih Budian, Anda baik sekali merespon saya. Terima kasih.
Iya. Pilih. Dari situ kemudian soalnya tertinggal nggak ketemu. Aku kok nganggu Malaysia ya? Apa narasumbernya kok Malaysia ya? Wis tamit burung. Waalaikumsalam. Ini boleh keluar tadi, Pak? Boleh.
Bapak Ibu, kami mau ngecek video, mohon direspon terlihat dan terdengar atau tidak ya. Terima kasih, berkenan bantu. kedengaran sama yang lain sama bisa kelihatan di sana. Tadi belum bisa kan? Sebenarnya itu yang ditanya dari awal. Itu yang ditanya dari awal.
Audionya maaf nggak ke share, belum itu mungkin di share screen-nya.
Introducing the role of the social work profession in the community. Participants discussed how the
So good afternoon. Apologies for my being late. I was completely caught in the meeting and nobody told me anything until somebody said, you have to go. Oh, I was too late already. Very, very, very sorry for that. But it's really a pleasure for me to have the opportunity of this meeting with you all on this issue of the social workers, because we are very pleased to discuss that, and also because on the 21st of May, it was the World Social Work Day, and that's a great opportunity for us to discuss all those issues. I'm also very, very pleased that you have a day as social workers, because it's a way to put a light on the work that you do. And very often people ask me, oh, all these days that exist, International Day for this and for that. I say, first of all, that's too bad that we have to have days, because often we have days just to remind the world about issues that should be solved since very long, but that continue to be a problem. Like, you know, we have to have an International Women's Day. It would be so nice that we don't need to remind everybody that women have the same rights as men. That would be good, so that we don't need a day, but so be it. But it's also nice to have days, because having days means that we shed a light on some aspect, and even if it's only once a year, it's important to be reminded. As we were preparing for this meeting, it became very obvious that social workers and the UN, we have very much in common. We look after the same group of people, and we have somewhat the same objective to really address the situation of the people who are the less fortunate in a country. And in that sense, I must say you are a very important part of this effort. So really, it's very important. And you know that for the UN, as a matter of fact, we now have the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the SDGs have at the heart of it the leaving no one behind. And I must say, leaving no one behind, we make sure here in Indonesia that it's not only a nice slogan, we are really working on it. As you know, we have done a study on the people who are left behind in order to identify, and it was done by 2 Indonesian researchers, so it's not at all me defining that, it was really Indonesian academics. And what we did is that we looked at all that exists on the groups that are left behind, in terms of data, in terms of literature, and so on and so forth. And thanks to that, we have been able to identify the people who are left behind in Indonesia. And interestingly, you know, there are some groups that appeared, which I'm sure are also part of your work. Groups like, for instance, widows and elderly people. You know, they are not necessarily groups that feature very, very high on the agenda of the UN in general, but they were very clearly mentioned as people who are left behind, you know, for a number of reasons. But what was also interesting is that while I would say compiling the data, the literature, and so on and so forth, what we also saw is that there were some groups whom we know are left behind, but they are nowhere to be found in the literature or in the statistics and the data. And one can say, that's maybe the reason why they are left behind, because there is nothing written on them. But maybe there is nothing written on them because they have been left behind for long. You know, so there is a need, and such groups was even people with disability were not featuring very high, at least in data and so on and so forth. Take off also the sexual minorities and all kind of indigenous people. Indigenous people also do not feature very high when it comes to data and so on and so forth. But in reality, as soon as we start looking at them, we see that they are left behind. When we look at the human development indicators, they are very low on this. So I would say for us, this study was very important. We've published it. You can find it on our website as well. And it helps us in elaborating also our strategy. But I would say also, as UN, in the middle income countries like Indonesia, we place a particular focus on those groups, because mostly being in a middle income country, sometimes you might think, oh yes, everything is okay. The country is rich enough to take care of its own. I mean, the very rich country don't take care fully of everybody, that's for sure, we know. But then middle income countries are in this in between, you know, and therefore for us as UN, definitely we have in this context also a strong focus on that. You can't hear me well? How many colleagues do we have online, by the way? How many people are online? 50. That's too bad if you have missed out of everything I've said, but I hope you could hear me a little bit anyway. And of course, in Indonesia, we have seen a lot of progress being done, definitely. But despite the nice progress that has been done, there are still many people who are left behind. And we know that these people we look after are the people you look after, you as social workers. And you look after them even before we do, and you will continue to do that long after we don't do it anymore. So that's why for us, the social workers are really important partners. And I'm very pleased of this rapprochement that we have now through the federation, and that's really nice. So what I wanted to say, just as a few words to start with this discussion, is that I'm very happy that we have the opportunity of this meeting, and actually your job is one of these jobs that are critically undervalued. And it reminds me, during the COVID situation, the people who really made a difference in the life of people were the nurses, were the social workers, were the garbage collectors, were the people who were owning a little grocery store where people can still go and buy food. All those jobs are usually undervalued, But during COVID time, we didn't need football players who earn $1 million per month. No, it's true, we didn't need. What we needed during COVID time, so during difficult time, we needed the nurses, we needed the social workers, we needed all those jobs that are usually undervalued. And but this being said, I think COVID has also shed a particular light on the reality of those jobs, including yours. And I think somewhat it's good, because and as UN, we are also ready to continue to push for your job to be seen and understood and valued as it should, because we know that it makes a difference at the end of the day in the life of people directly. And also because we need to have to refocus on social issues. Social issues somewhat have been pushed a little bit behind the agenda that was very much favoring a political, economic, and financial approach. And while we need politics, we need economic growth, and that the social issues are what is left when we don't have anything else. And that's why. So anyway, I must say what is impressive is that despite all this, social workers have never stopped working. You've continued working, and I think it's very good, and know that it's highly appreciated and highly valued by us. So let us hope that this exchange today will continue to feed this excellent relation. But just I want to reiterate our deep appreciation for your work, to wish you a warm welcome in the UN office, and then I look forward to our discussion today. Thank you very much.
Ibu Valerie, colleagues from the UN, and my colleagues, fellow social workers, good afternoon. My name is Puji Pujiono. I'm the president of the Indonesian Association of Social Workers. Some of you might have known me as an old face of the UN. Literally old, I mean, an old hand. Ibu Valerie, thank you for making this arrangement and opening the door for us. This World Social Work Day has been celebrated every fourth week of Tuesday since mid-80s at UN headquarters, both in New York and in Geneva. So this year we thought, if it is being done at headquarters, why should we not do it in Jakarta? That's a very simple motivation on our part. But as Ibu Valerie said, that kind of days is auspicious and important to remind us there are certain things that need to be put into the light, and to the extent possible to leverage that for our collective advantage, right? Along that line, the theme for this year is respecting diversity through joint social action. Now we feel this struck the chord in Indonesia because we are facing this year and next year will be general election in Indonesia. And the identity politics is really being played out. We have seen it. And how the local level politics breaks the fiber of the society. So we took that theme and we run it through our
Aku ngasih ke kamu.
20 activities to highlight this conversation. And I think we will continue to do that, right? So that's on the World Social Work Day, the purpose is really to align the social work profession with the UN and vice versa, to translate the UN's work to social work profession and to explore collaboration essentially. Because we have our work with WHO, with UNODC, with UNFPA and others. Everybody in the room, I can mention one by one at the headquarters level. But in the case of Indonesia, I think the door is very much open for a variety of reasons. One, interestingly enough, Ibu Valerie, the profession was introduced by the UN. In 1964, the UN actually sponsored some of our scholars. This is part of the World Assessment of Social Work. So among the developmentalisms of the UN was to explore the social work front, including Indonesia. And out of that, the UN provided the scholarship, the infrastructure of that college. Until now, it's still standing in Bandung. In 2003, I established the Center for Displaced and Disaster Studies in that particular school, our school. Many of us graduate from there. And from there, for some reason though, Ibu Valerie, that link was missing of the UN and the social work profession. It sort of wins out over years, and now we engage on a very functional basis, but no longer in that close and how do you say, spiritual, emotional link. Now it's become functional. So I would like to rekindle that between this profession and the UN, right? And whenever possible, I would like to highlight. And I'm looking for the evidence now, just to put the UN, one of the UN's deliverables in Indonesia was the establishment of profession. Now, in the case of Indonesia, now let me start with the profession itself. Very, very quickly, just 20 words on that. Social work is probably the only profession in the world that explicitly stating its commitment to human rights, to respect to diversity, right, and thus the inclusive, and then taking side to the disadvantaged and marginalized explicitly, right, and committing itself to social change and even liberation of people. This is explicitly, right? And based on theoretical basis that we have and practice wisdom and also indigenous knowledge, uniquely enough, we are not shy to say that we appreciate indigenous knowledge as part of our body of knowledge. And out of that, our commitment then translate into field of practices. My colleague is on child and family. She is on expert on trafficking. Is on drug and addiction that we will present later. We have the psychological and social work cross, and then we have the medical, right? And then women on the other side, expert on social work and women. So you're right, we are covering almost exactly the same ground that the UN is covering. That is those who are disenfranchised. We are developing our discipline on displacement and refugees as well, because those people are invisible. Since mid-90s, during the Maluku conflict, we're dealing with that. So Arnie and I were talking with IOM now to try to rebuild this group of people. Again, try to really follow the center of the displacement and disaster in Bandung and see if we can do something about it. That's about the profession. In the case of Indonesia, we started, as I said, mid-50 was like, the newly liberated from colonialism countries. We have the veterans of the war, the poor, and the disaster victims. Those are the core clientele that we have early on. But with the establishment of the first college in mid-60, sponsored by the UN, if I'm not mistaken, including the commission, actually, the UNESCO, that provide the expert, bringing experts from the Philippines, because Philippines has a lot older profession than we do, because they have the missionary from the Vietnam War and all that, and a long tradition with the missionary, so established very well long before Indonesia. But those actually were brought in to Indonesia. Traditionally, we have been working with the Ministry of Social Affairs, but naturally, as the society become more complex, we spread out beyond Ministry of Social Affairs. We are talking to our colleague from UNICEF and also UNFPA, hopefully to work with Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, and so on. To cut a long story short, in 2019, after 6 years of struggle, finally we got the law on our side. We have the Social Workers Act in 2019. So we are now equal to doctors, engineers, and others. Believe it or not, I spent 9 years in social work education. 9 years. So really, that's what's required. However, this is the challenge. Social work, as it is true in many developing countries, the notion of social worker means anybody who have a good heart, right? The one who give alms, the one who do voluntary jobs. Those are called social worker. Unfortunately, the government officials are doing exactly the same. So they would create a corps of volunteers and train them for about 3 weeks and give the title social worker. And that undermines the profession. Right? And so on. And many of the civil servants' position that are specialized So this is one of our struggle now, to bring the law to the ground, make it, become the tool to advance the profession, because it has so much potential, right? And we need to have more conversation with government and take every opportunity to advance our position on that. Now, finally, what we'd like to state here is that I think almost naturally, the work of social work profession and the UN, out of that shared concern and jurisdiction of work, I think it should come naturally. I was talking to a colleague to WHO just now, that in the process of the health on the law bill, happen now, social worker is not operating, our medical social work, 30 hospitals in Indonesia. We have among us here, Viro is a social worker on transplantation. She's helping communities and families that are going through transplantation, one of it. And we have branches everywhere. So this needs to be brought forward. So we make our formal position. I was into WHO. Please help us with some more references, to argue that this is the legitimate part of the solution. And then with women and children, we mentioned already. With IOM, I was talking about the trafficking. With UNHCR, we need to talk about displacement and refugee. And then at the same time, colleagues, at this moment, we have 3 major pillars that's already institutionalized. They will be presenting briefly on child and family. We have the Indonesian Association for that. We have the Indonesian Association for Drug and Addiction. And then the third one is on medical. The ones that are emerging is social work for disaster risk management, and then disaster and the justice system. And then the third one is with the CSR incorporated. So in about a year and a half, we're looking at 7 pillars to be established. So and I feel that this could be solution, if not all. It's some of the issues to again to identify the people on the ground, highlight their pleas and things like that. Right? Good. So that's a sort of a scope for collaboration that we would like to explore with you through this conversation. Later with individual social workers, we welcome you. We have branches in 34 provinces. Our members in our actual ledgers about 1,500. In our roster around 6,000. And reportedly, there are 25 to 40,000 social workers, including those who are not certified. It's the actual register with us. We have the name and you know, the one who paid the dues, right? And then around 6,500 are registered. We know that they are there, right? But the 25 to 40 are still out there who have not approached us. We have not been able to trace them down because simply we don't have the incentive to get them to the center. But I think increasingly that will be part of our opportunity. At this moment, we are operating from our respective homes. We don't have any office yet. Despite all of these years, we have no budget, but we have all good hearts and determination. I don't know if that counts, right? But obviously, we managed to do the job. We managed to draw the law together and all that. So, you know, this is a good potential. Let me end there with the hope that this truly will trigger further conversation at the sectoral level. We're more happy to have an individual discussion with colleagues on a variety of issues, but otherwise I'll have the time reserved for the presentation. Ibu Valerie, thanks again for that. And but before I end, one more thing I have to acknowledge that one of the activities that we have was the Grand Jamboree in South Kalimantan. 3,000 people participated, right? And Ibu Valerie sent Ibu Diandra to join us in Kalimantan. And it was much appreciated. The presence of the NRC office was much appreciated by the governor, by all of us. 3,000 people have no joke. It has been recorded as the largest social jamboree with a larger number of attendees. So with that, I would like to thank again Ibu Valerie and Mbak Diandra. But Chandrasa, thank you as well. You're the first one who sit with me and Ibu Afka to craft this, you know, to cook up this thing. So thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Puji, for these words. I mean, I learned. I didn't know that it had been introduced by the UN in 1964. So that's very interesting. So yes, let's go forward. Or do you want us to do a round of introduction quickly so that we know? But if you have 50 people online, unfortunately, we can't go through the 50 people online. But people online were so happy you're with us online. But maybe we can go quickly just to know who is who. Why don't we start with you?
Okay, thank you, Bu Valerie and Bapak Ibu. To add what Pak Puji says. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm Wawan Setiawan. Yeah, as part of Indonesian social worker who work with children and family. Yeah, we have. Yeah, I'm living in Cianjur, West Java. So before to oh perkenal ya.
My name is Tetri, social worker for children and family, and also humanitarian worker. Yeah, yeah, Indonesian Council also for social welfare, on social welfare. Individual social worker. Yeah, good afternoon, Ibu Valerie, and also everyone. I'm Suarni Dancaya. You can call me Arni. I'm a social worker focusing to human trafficking, and also some of my work also there is cross-cutting issues with refugees. So I hope we can work together about how to combat human trafficking from refugees community and also from women and children. As Ibu Valerie said that there are some people still left behind, like widow and also single parent. So they are also some of the vulnerable people who can involve as human trafficking. So hopefully for the future we can work together to prevent and also to handling human trafficking in Indonesia especially. And we have social worker, a lot of social worker working in these issues. Yeah, so the task of the social worker is not only in psychosocial support, but we also assist the victims until in the legal process. So we are now focusing to assist some of the human trafficking cases to present their cases in the justice process. Yeah, thank you.
This is one of the evidence. She has been working with the mothers of these babies, but she has not been admitted to the court as a protective witness, although in the law, the name of social worker is mentioned. But lacking of the credential and all the support, she cannot defend these mothers, although her office has been ransacked, terrorized, and what's not. Just to spice up the story so that you don't get bored with this story.
Thank you, Pak Puji.
Please, next one.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all. My name is Esther. I'm leader APSANI. APSANI is the Association Indonesian Drug Addiction Social Workers. I think enough. Thank you.
Puji and everyone. My name is Ismar. I am social worker child protection. Ismar. I'm IPSPI regional Jawa Barat. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me to introduce myself. I think I'm the outlier on this side. My name is Farah Jalal. I'm a psychologist, actually. So I'm invited in here by Pak Puji to present you later about the joint forces collaboration between social worker and the psychologist. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Virolia. I am a transplant social worker from Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital and part of Indonesian Association for Medical Social Worker. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Lutri Huriani. I am a palliative social worker and another specialist as gender and social inclusion.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Julia Zajkowski. I'm a senior protection officer with UNHCR, the Agency for Refugees. And listening to all of you, many thanks, Papuji. I already have lots of ideas for potential areas to collaborate. So thanks very much. Yeah.
Selamat sore, I'm Akbar Halim from Child Protection Section UNICEF Indonesia, and this is very familiar faces, Ibu Valerie, for me because I've been working with some of them for so many years.
Selamat siang, good afternoon. My name is Cahyo. I am from UNIP as a gender transformative officer from gender unit.
Very happy to meet you all here.
Selamat siang, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy. I'm a HIV human rights.
Selamat siang, saya Francisca. from WHO Indonesia. I'm looking after for social determinant of health and health promotion. So very excited to discuss further with you the medical, also non-medical, because I also looking after for mental health and non-communicable disease.
Selamat siang, good afternoon. My name is Lupna Bhatti. I'm the team leader for non-communicable diseases and healthier population in the WHO Indonesia country office. Siska and I are on the same team, and I'm already thinking through what you were saying, Valerie, is social work is an extension of what UN really does. I think there are just so many synergies that need to be tapped into it. Very, very pleased to be here.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rabi Pramudatama. I'm with UNODC, Program Coordinator for Criminal Justice. Really happy to see you all and to explore further because we UNODC have some partial engagement cooperation with IPSPI. I think because we had training for the social worker with MOSA for social integration of former prisoners. It's attention program. Yes, also related to the terrorism. And one thing that I learned also the importance of IPSS is that the certification. So the social workers need that, and I think it's your role also important role. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mirza. I'm from UNODC as National Program Officer for Strive Juvenile, and I'm really excited to listen from you all because I have a program that will support social worker and psychologists, especially in psychosocial support, to support children associated with terrorist groups. So I'm happy to listen from you all.
Good afternoon. My name is Chandrasa. I'm the Partnership Officer of the UN Resident Coordinator Office. Thank you.
Selamat siang menjelang sore. My name is Diandra. I'm with the Resident Coordinator's Office as Economist and SDGs Coordination Officer. Ibu Valerie, we have also ILO, I believe, and OHCSR online, in addition to colleagues, UN colleagues that are here.
Who is online from ILO? And from OHHR, who is online? Is it Shivani? Yeah, but they will join, I'm sure. Good, and we also have two colleagues in the back.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Kalista. I work in National Narcotic Board. My main task is counseling. Okay, I also the coordinator for several projects in in our treatment center, National Treatment Center in Lido. Maybe you've known. I also leading a project for tutorial program for adolescents, our clients, and also I designed several program in National Narcotic Board for healthy relationship class for our clients, and also leader for therapeutic session. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Anissa and I am from UNIC. I'm here to help for the communication support. Thank you.
Good, and unfortunately for those of you colleagues who are online and you, the social workers online, we can't have everybody introduce yourself, but we're very pleased that you are around with us. So maybe now we can proceed with the first presentation. So maybe we need another, I think this one is good, is getting, it blinks, I think it's not charging up, voila.
Yeah, to add what our friend and my chairman of Indonesian Social Worker Association, we are from social worker who work with children and family, working in issues and area of children protection, child protection, and family development. And in our job, our area, working area of professional practices of social work, we have the reality of some data who what is the kind of children they have the problem. Most of children living without family, yeah, and they they are being victim in trafficking, the children, child labor, in conflict with the law, substance use, and other problem still what is in Indonesian children. So our member of social worker association, children and family, in daily practice in field, and we have what is some challenges, yeah. For example, we need a supervisor. So just say with Pak Puji, maybe we can collaborate, we can partnership to training for supervisor, social worker who supervise the social worker in field. So we have the what is 600 members, yeah, 600 members, particularly social worker practice in family and child issues in Indonesia, yeah, from 34 province in Indonesia. And our agenda also we are going to training from for the child issue in online protection. Child online protection issues, that is the critical issues, and our social worker needs capacity and skills how to handle the problem children in online issues. So maybe we have the what is IPSPI could draft the model, and also maybe we can partnership to be partnership in to provide the trainer, maybe, yeah, training for trainer and other program. I think that's from the issues of children. Thank you.
Add to this one, just the last point. On the 8th of February, during the Safer Internet Day, the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection has launched nationally the guidelines on child online protection, which is the product of ITU, right? So these are guidelines for policymakers, and then for industry, for parents and teachers, and for children themselves, all already in Indonesian language. So we launched that, and then we also launched the training for social workers throughout Indonesia to be at the front line. Unfortunately, until now, 2 months after that launching, we haven't heard anything from ITU. So maybe we could, you know, we have sent a reminder as well. We would like to have their permission to use their materials, which is already in Bahasa Indonesia, to be fielded, right? And I thought that would be a good thing, because instead of creating a new one, we actually utilize it already there. So we do that, and then we speak to UNICEF as well. We explore if we could use their materials. We said in our organization, we are racing against the time now with child online protection issues. The cases are happening really in a fast race, and we don't know how to handle that. So I think that's quite urgent and I think quite and also interesting. The ministry are fully supportive, but we're looking for the the partner to do it. If no partner, we'll do it ourselves at the end with whatever we have, of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, everyone. I'm from IPSPI. IPSPI is the Association of Indonesian Drug Addiction Social Workers. We have social workers concerned in rehabilitation drug addiction. Any 139 social worker concerned in addiction cases. So our friend or the member of IPSPI all have been certified by the Social Worker Certification Agency or LSP. So and professional oath, super profesi. I'm a friend working on drug issue setting, starting from prevention, assistance, rehabilitation, advocacy to aftercare to provide training on the independence of life for drug addiction clients until recovery, addict, and economic. Because I think without recovery economic, our client is back to drug addiction more. So my friend also give empowerment for client like raising goats, saving, plantation for recovery economic, and all for recovery economic. Also have goals to recovery ethic. Activities IPSPI and with government. We have action conveying aspiration to the people's representatives in Commission 8 or DPR Komisi 8. The second representative of the consortium in Thailand, Mr. Wawang. The third was rehab activities for penitentiary clients with correctional centers or DAPAS. So working meeting with the Director General of Population and Data Collection, because many drug user without ID card. So we have coordination meeting on the preparation and implementation of an integrated. Also assessment with the Ministry of Social Affairs. Okay. IPSPI to join with government and NGO. So IPSPI members doing clients outreach, home visit, counseling, give psychoeducation, line of march, what is mean of baris berbaris military, ya, karena ada hubungannya dengan pendisiplinan. Okay, yeah. So IPSPI gave support in earthquake in Cianjur at December. Yeah. We open donate. IPSPI so activists have activists active and with government like formulation of competency standards for drug addiction social workers with the Bandung Politeknik Kesejahteraan Sosial. So compilation of competency standards of social assistance for drug addiction with the Ministry of Social Affairs. Also training on social support services or LDP for handling COVID-19. Also develop guidelines for COVID-19 services for clients with drug addiction within our residential or outside the institution non-residential. So next, APSANI also member empowerment activities. The first activities to increase the capacity and quality of members, training members by online about assessment joined with social workers from USA. So training on handling drug addiction and mental health. Number 3, case management training. Our friend very need training case management because that's very important when handling our clients. So APSANI developed guidelines for COVID-19 service for clients with drug addiction, residential or non-residential. So my friend and me have obstacle. The first, social workers have not been involved in the integrated assessment team on law number 35 of 209 concerning narcotics. So they experience obstacles in assessing clients who have problem with the law. So for me and for our friend, it's problem for social workers because cannot handling in law. So number 2, our obstacle, not all legal institutions use social workers to become expert witnesses in drug addiction legal cases, even though their role is important in defending clients at the pre-trial and or court level. Yes, everyone, APSANI hope we are open to cooperation in all matters to expedite our practice, to carry out our work programs such as the first, preparation of service modules for drug addiction client, special for social workers. So number 2, member capacity building training. Number 3, paralegal training. Number 4, training activities for trainers to increase the capacity and competency of members. Yes, everyone, till now, APSANI have rehabilitation 22,000 clients, special drugs addiction without dual diagnosis, like schizophrenia, paranoid, bipolar, without that. So this means we need support you all, please. We need support UNODC, especially you UNODC. Nice to meet you there. Nice to meet you here. So maybe we have look for time for yes, make modules for social workers because UNODC have modules for counselors, but social workers nothing. So I think, yeah, so it's very very important for me, ya supaya we can handling very good. Gitu aja. So I think.
Thank you very much, Esther. I think your call has been heard loud and clear. So I think we have another presentation on health and medical services.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Bu Valerie, Pak Puji, dan juga seluruh teman-teman. And also good afternoon from Indonesia to all social workers. My name is Virolia. I am a transplant social worker from Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital and part of Indonesian Association for Medical Social Worker. On this occasion, I want to share about our practice in medical social worker. The next slide, please. Now we have 70 registered member in all around 30 hospital in Indonesia, and we have 2 colleges education in specialty medical social worker. And we have 11 sub-specialty in palliative care, HIV and AIDS, mental health, geriatric, cancer, medical rehabilitation, transplantation, stroke, TBC, hemophilia, and crisis intervention. We work with the patients and their family, and we help them cope with the disease and also the life disruption because of the disease. Start from the diagnosis and after the treatment. We also have a role in a prevention or preventive action and also curative and rehabilitation action. Some of our hopes are better understanding of disease and treatment because we face the society that have low educations and low understanding about the disease and also the treatment. It correlated to their compliance, their self-awareness, and also coping mechanism and resilience. And also we optimize social support, ensure financial ability and insurance, support and mitigate caregiver burnout. We are not only focusing on the patient, but we also focusing on their society, on their caregiver, families, and also the environment. We also advocate on behalf of the patients and connecting to extra or alternate resources, and also manage the disease related to stigma because we face certain disease have a big stigma in our Indonesian society, such as HIV and AIDS, living donor transplantations, cancer, and also geriatric programs. And also, we do strengthen treatment related to life plan. Social worker ensure that our patients and families have a life plan during the treatment and after the treatment because based on that, we know that they still hope for their future life. We, medical social worker, not only focusing on the patients based on their disease, but we also focusing them as a whole person. We see them as a human. And ladies and gentlemen, we are the medical social worker also faces some challenges related to work. We have limited resources based on to support patients and also persistent stigma to certain disease and also like buy-in for the holistic care services. And also we face a professional challenges. We lack recognitions in healthcare, and also we limited remuneration and entitlement, gaps in lifelong competency development. But we never stop. We always trying to break our limit and open a new gate. So here I am, and here the Indonesian Association for Medical Social Worker. Our hope is we can make partnership with WHO, IOM, UNFPA, UNICEF, UNIT to support the implementation of holistic care. We need to more focusing on psychosocial aspect of the patients because we need to see the patient as a whole person, not only based on the disease. And no, we are promoting social worker to be included in the healthcare bill, and we need your support for it. And the second one, we create and accumulate evidence basis for the advanced social support and establish, maintain, and expand referral networks at all levels, and also acknowledge and strengthen social workers' roles in the holistic care approach. And the last one is establish and strengthen the enabling environment to erase the stigma and to pushing the holistic approach. Let me close my, my speech maybe with my favorite quotes from Ed Adams. The next, please. This is very meaningful for me as a medical social worker. Yeah, I will say it. Yeah, I will say it. when you treat the disease, you may win or you may lose. But when you treat the person, you always win, no matter what the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good one. Thank you. And then we have the next one with, I think, Farah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me again to introduce myself. My name is Farah Jalal. Like I said, I'm the only psychologist here, I think. And also, hello.
No worries, we like psychologists as well.
Hi, bro. Okay, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hatiplong, is an online mental health provider. So I'm here. We'll be talking about our joining forces, collaboration between. Sorry. Yeah, it's to make your heart release. Yeah, it's Indonesian words. That's the aim of why we're here, to make your hati plong. Yeah. I hope by the end of this presentation, your hati will be plong. Okay, now I got distracted. I was saying, I'll be talking about the Joint Forces collaboration project between psychologists and social worker in providing integrated mental health care and social fitness. Next slide, please. So why we're joining forces? It's because the issues that our community faces this day in the digital living and postmodern. If we look at the data, I believe this is from the Ministry of Health and from WHO, you could see that 35% of the stressor is coming from the interpersonal problems. Almost 18% coming from the intrapersonal problems, and 17% is psychological symptom. Now, if we look at the manifestation, sadly, 1 out of 5 Indonesian, they suffer from the mental disorders. So that's already 20% of the Indonesian. 9.8 have a prevalence of emotional mental issues. 6.1 have a prevalence of depression, but only 9% had access to medicine. That's really small. And 7 per million household have a prevalence for psychosis. So that's why we thought, I think it's important to join forces to tackle this problem. So the services that we provide, it will be affordable, accessible, and convenient to all Indonesian who need it, either individuals, communities, companies. And all the services will be provided by the licensed psychologist and social worker, catering to a range of mental and social conditions and situations. Hatiplong is now using an app as a tool. It's called Nice Day Apps from the Netherlands. It's a user-friendly. It consists of lots of trackers, where participants or clients can actually self-monitor using the apps. And the services will be provided online and also hybrid for psychological consultation, counseling, and so on. Our vision is to make mental health and social fitness accessible for anyone, anytime, and anywhere. We want to increase the awareness. We want to give a new experience in accessing mental health provider and social worker. We want this to become a lifestyle that people aware about their mental health and also social interpersonal problems, and in control. They can get the professional help in their own self-pace. So our support is joining forces between psychologists and social worker, but let's see, maybe in the future there will be more collaboration with other professionals. And we want to provide the right type of the support for the right person at the right time with the 4 aims. The first one is promotive. It's to increase the knowledge, the awareness about their mental health, about their interpersonal problems, and what can cause behind it. The second one is preventive, self-assessment. So using our tools, people can actually monitor themselves before they're actually going to the professional. So this to make the healthy one stays healthy. Interventive is to promote extra support for their well-being and for their fitness. They can use our apps, our services, for instance, coaching, counseling, and so on, is for those who already have a risk of mental issues. And lastly, it should be curative for those who already suffer from mental disorder or social problems. We would provide psychological consultation from a licensed psychologist and also counseling from the social worker. So that's the type of support that we're going to hear. Now we're also exploring collaboration framework together between the psychologist and social worker to provide a holistic care. It's a collaboration between the two of us, provide a holistic care for our clients. It's also care coordination. A social worker collaborate with the psychologist to ensure that individual receive appropriate help and timely care. Support services, social worker can help individuals with mental health concern to navigate to social system and access resources. Together, we believe that we can broaden our outreach for underprivileged communities, for instance, to educate about the mental health topics and so on. And our collaboration is also providing support during and after disaster. So we're going to tap into that area as well, disaster. I think that's about it, about our project, collaboration project, but let's not stop here. Let's collaborate together. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all the speakers and your very interesting presentation. I think it shows the diversity of work that social work encompasses. And definitely, as you say, Pak Puji is not only just the good heart. It's real work with a real task and real responsibilities and a lot at stake, actually. I mean, what I think is all those type of job that take care of people. That's why for me, these are the jobs that should be the most paid and the most valued. Starting from the person who takes care of your child when you go working, you know, if it's another type of job where the impact on people is less or sometimes non-existent, it's not the same responsibility. And I must say from that perspective, that's why your work is essential as well, because you definitely, I'm sure along your career, you can say that you have helped so many people, you have saved so many people, just like nurses and doctors and all those functions. So I think we have now a video presentation that produces it. If it works, there that is. And then after that, we can go for a session of question and answer. And hopefully, it will be an opportunity also for the colleagues who are online to also come in. The video is working soon.
Indonesia is a country in Southeast Asia and Oceania between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. It consists of over 17,000 islands, including Sumatra, Java, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and Papua. Indonesia is the world's largest archipelagic state and the world's fourth most populous country, with over 275 million people. Diversity in Indonesia is a force to create a future for the next generation, being the main capital in creating a future with their own hands. As a big country with various social problems, Indonesia needs a strong and independent social work organization, spread all over Indonesia. The Indonesian Social Workers Association, IPSPI, is a professional organization that houses thousands of social workers in Indonesia. The Indonesian Social Workers Association currently has 32 local chapters, from Aceh to Papua. who has an interest in always caring for the sustainability of the organization. By conducting socialization and training activities for social welfare or social work students as part of the process of regeneration of social workers in Indonesia. Moreover, the existence of this profession has received legality with the issuance of Law No. 14 of 2019 concerning social workers. Of course, this positive momentum must be utilized as much as possible for the advancement of one of these social service professions. Joining their colleagues the world over, the Indonesian Social Workers Association celebrated the World Social Work Day of 2023. The celebration seeks to promote the contributions of the social work profession and to raise the visibility of social services to the society based on social justice and human rights. This year's theme, Respecting Diversity Through Joint Social Action, is inspired by the People's Charter for a New Eco-Social World as recognition that change happens locally through diverse community leadership for inclusive social transformation. The social workers of East Java chapter jointly with their Provincial Social Affairs Office conducted community service with more than 200 local children, women and men. The theme of the event was reintroducing the role of the social work profession in the community. Participants discussed how the electoral contestation at local level could potentially be disrupted and that they must do all they can to maintain it. The community should continue to invest in respecting diversity and leveraging it to foster social well-being. Following some fun activities, the social workers offered gifts for the Ramadan LCD projector and screen to support and facilitate community activities. Head of the Provincial Social Affairs Office emphasized it is government's policy, as part of a country-wide bureaucratic reform, to separate the functional social workers category from the structural managerial functions. The challenge is how to accelerate the strengthening of the functional social workers, particularly those non-social workers who are being temporarily assigned to the position. The Provincial Social Affairs Office and IPSPI East Java chapter jointly organized this workshop, which was participated by almost 100 social workers. The IPSPI president discussed the present and future trends of social work-related challenges and the specific social work practices that are required to proactively respond to such challenges. The Social Workers of Aceh chapter celebrated the World Social Work Day 2023 with a media talk show entitled Getting to Know the Social Work Profession. In that show, points were made that the chapter has taken major steps to collaborate with the Indonesian Physicians Association conducting a community social action for the children and older persons, and entered an MOU with the State Islamic University AR Rano, which first activity was, in fact, the radio talk show broadcasting. The Social Workers of Yogyakarta chapter collaborated with the Social Welfare Study Program of the State Islamic University Sunan Kalijaga. Celebrate the World Social Work Day 2023. It began with a health walk and social action, participated by more than 700 people. This was followed by a national seminar on the practice dynamics of law and social work. A national workshop, March 20th, and concluded with the awarding of the winners from a videography competition with the theme Respecting Diversity Through Joint Social Action. The momentum of World Social Work Day 2023 coincided with the Holy Day of Silence. Nyepi. Notwithstanding, Social Workers of Bali chapter has been actively empowering families and communities and providing psychosocial support for children with cancer. Social workers also supported children going through the juvenile courts proceedings. Various categories of social welfare workforce have benefited from capacity building workshops, while persons with disabilities participated in the social empowerment activities. A record-breaking Grand Jamboree, Banjarmasin, 4 to 6 March 2023. The Indonesian Social Workers Association, in collaboration with the provincial government of the South Kalimantan province, organized a 3,000-person strong grand jamboree that was recorded by the Indonesian Museum of Records as a social jamboree with the most participants. National ministries and institutions as well as UN agencies and international NGOs were invited. Representative of the United Nations Resident Coordinator's Office, in her remarks, expressed appreciation for this important initiative and regarded it as a momentum to achieve the SDGs, leaving no one behind. The social workers of Jakarta National Special Region organized a career guide workshop which was participated by more than 100 students of the Vocational High School number 28. Speaker during that important event stressed the value of introducing the social work profession to the young. They also inspired participants with the message not only that the social work profession is important and makes a difference to people's lives, it is personally rewarding for the younger generations. It was hoped that such promotion will help ensure the thriving social work profession in Indonesia. Social workers in South Sulawesi chapter stand at an interesting juncture where their local communities are facing various social issues, including children in conflict with the law and natural disasters, as well as pockets of poverty. The province is endowed by large corporations. Some of those companies established CSR programs that provide assistance to rural and urban poor, disaster relief and assistance, home renovation assistance, and provision of solar power. Social workers are tapping into these companies to also extend community social activities to promote crafts and skill training. Alongside, social workers provide the accompanying psychosocial services as well as a series of capacity-strengthening activities for government functional social workers. Social workers in Papua chapter, joined by their counterparts from UNICEF, crossed a major river to the Babranco village, near the city of Jayapura, in Papua, to celebrate the WSWD 2023 by carrying out community social actions. The Peri-urban village is one among a number of villages designated to be ecotourism villages by the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy. The socio-economic changes also alter the parenting practices. Amidst the celebratory spirit during the day, social workers discussed with community leaders the importance of nurturing families and permanent connections to ensure children's well-being and healthy growth. The meeting acknowledged that most parents want to do what is best for their families and children. To that end, at times, they may not be able to do it alone, and the support of child welfare social workers might be needed to build the strengths within family and community to help ensure a safe and loving environment for children.
So Pak Puji, I hand you over the floor now. I think you're the one who is going to facilitate the rest of the session.
Thank you, Valerie. So we probably have about 30 minutes to have this round of interactive session. What we could do, Ibu Valerie, just open the floor to colleagues from the UN and yourself. If you have any query or questions or comments, you're most welcome. We'll take note and we'll respond at the end. Does it sound? Sounds good? All right. Please, anybody would like to start? Sure.
Again, I'm so happy to be here. It makes hati plong. We actually, Pak Puji, we initiated a discussion with your team last year. We are very interested with your work, and then we know that you will be a very potential partner for us as GBV frontliners, because we understand that you are everywhere. So yeah, and then I understand that you have been working with UNICEF colleagues for child protection, mostly on violence against children. So we could fill the gap by strengthen your roles in the prevention and response for GBV, particularly in violence against women. So this year, under Takeda project, we will collaborate. We will establish the collaboration with you on under the coordination of Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection, of course, on how to strengthen your roles. By together, we developed the standardized training manual for the social workers on GBV, on violence against women. And then we will see if we can integrate this into your curriculum. And then also we will also involve social workers in 7 of our area of interventions together with the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, yeah, and under 7 UPTD, Government Integrated Services for GBV survivors. So yeah, I'm so keen to discuss further with you, Pak, because this is right in time. Yeah, we are invited in this meeting by the time that we have to we will start the project. Thank you very much. Look forward to work with you.
That's a good start. Who's next? UNODC, you have been put on the spot. You better say something.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Pak. So I actually have a question. I want to know more about the process when you social worker accompanies children in the justice process. What was the role exactly, and is it paralegal, and how the connection with other agencies? Because we also have a program on restorative justice, and that might be one of the potential opportunities that we can collaborate. And also for the drugs, I think yes, the modules are there. There's a potential to transpose that curriculum module for counselor to social workers, but we might need to also discuss with its other colleagues with the UNODC. I will let them know about that. And apart from the drugs user, is there any specific works with general population of former prisoners? Because that's also one of the area that we work, the social rehabilitation and integration of former prisoners. So I want to know more about that. Mirza, you have any?
Thank you, Mas Rabi. I just want to ask about, you mentioned about the capacity building and give a training. Under my program, I also develop a series of TOT under Ministry of Social Affairs. So I want to know, because you mentioned about capacity building, who is your target or your partner when you develop a training before? I mean, like, is it under only social worker under Ministry of Social Affairs, or like a general social worker? Because as I know, we also have a social worker in the provincial level and the district levels. So I want to know more who is your participants before.
Okay.
And I think I will discuss more detail with you on the our collaboration on this, because I will have a training that focus on social psychosocial assessment. As we know that psychosocial assessment is important part when we work when we accompany children, especially in the children associated with the terrorist group, because they are victim in this case, and in every case we have to look children as a victim. So I want to know about your previous participant first in your training.
All right. While we're on drugs and addiction, I will just add the issue just to get it more exciting. The issue has been declared as a national emergency a couple of years back. And with that, we established hundreds of community outreach points, working with the ex-addicts themselves. And suddenly, out of whim, this policy was scrapped. And now hundreds of the community outreach totally collapsed. Hundreds of clients are unserved. I'm being very blunt here. We are out in the limb with our clients. So, there's bigger bone to chew. but of course they are also important. But let's talk about that too, right? Because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of drug users and their families whose life are on the line, okay? So maybe there's policy advocacy intervention somewhere. But let me just add then on the list. Who's next? Should I call one by one? UNICEF, you like to step forward? Sorry. Yeah, wait, WS is commenting first, yeah. Sure.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what defines a community outreach post when you talk about it?
But Lutri, you like to talk about IPWL very shortly, what it is? Or is anybody who can talk IPWL, Mbak Esther? Very quick comment before we discuss it. Pelan-pelan saya terjemahkan ya. So this community outreach for each and every drug addicts who receive substitutes or rehabilitation who are not in detention, they must report their presence. They have to take their medication on community outreach service points that are accredited by Ministry of Social Welfare and Ministry of Health jointly. Ministry of Health is tackling the medical rehabilitation, the social taking care of the social rehabilitation. Continue, Pak.
IPWL itu ada two domains. The first, social ministry, special for IPWL Sosial. So, kesehatan, Ministry of Health, special for IPWL Medical. Jadi, every client's user drugs must report to social ministry for dapat rehabilitasi untuk sosial, kesehatan sosialnya, kemudian harus lapor ke dinas kesehatan untuk mendapatkan layanan kesehatan.
So there are two outlets. One is for health, one for social, it was mentioned. The one for health rehabilitation, they fall back on the health services facilities. That's already available to the ground. But the social, they do not have such facilities. So they have to create these entities that are accredited so that those who have to go through social rehabilitation will report to that entities. Terus apa yang terjadi kemarin dengan IPWL? Just very quickly. Yeah, just very quickly. Not to get too detailed, otherwise we'll get so scared.
Okay. Yeah. I will make demo.
There was a demonstration, but what's behind the demo? The demo was interesting, but what did they talk about?
Yes, our demo, because I think we think nothing interest for government for rehabilitation for our clients, client residential or non-residential, nothing rehabilitation for government.
Yeah.
For social ministry.
We organized demonstration. We brought it down to the street. This is what social workers do sometimes, because we thought the government has neglected its responsibility to serve the people who have the rights for rehabilitation from drugs. Terus?
Yeah.
That's
Anytime IPWL go to DPR, yes, for report and rapport about what activities are in IPWL, about rehab center, about money for rehab, the clients, many client. Sedangkan kita dituntut pemerintah untuk merehabilitasi klien-klien. Terus pemerintah juga mengatakan bahwa darurat, urgency, drug addiction.
Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived by her smiling face. Huh? She was bringing social workers to the parliament and explain to the parliament the issues of the drug addiction. In one hand, the government declared the war, emergency war on drugs. But on the other hand, another arm of government doesn't care about the plight of the drug addicts on the ground. So this paradox was brought to the parliament, to the public hearing in the parliament, and then we'll see what's going to happen. I think the minister Minister of Social Welfare, that is, must be thinking of different policies now. But that's just to respond to your question. Thank you. Anyone? Mas Akbar, you want to say something?
No, because Ibu Valerie, we have a kind of a regular discussion with Puji and teams. It's most like weekly discussions. We can have a lot of things to discuss. What Esther said. Yeah, actually, what Mbak Esther mentioned is not only for the drugs issues, but also for many other issues related to the social welfare. For children in conflict with the law, for the street children, the trafficking, GBV things. We have problem with how this social care system provide the service, how the government do this. Right? So I think instead of only focus on, we learned, Bu Valerie, that from the last 5-10 years work with the social workers, we learned that they are the core ingredient for developing the service system. We try to develop the integrated child protection system in Indonesia. You know that child protection service system is different with the health sector, education sector. We have 514 and now more districts and cities. We have also more than 500 variations of how the structures and mechanism in providing the services. So we learn that by put the social workers at the center of the system building, then we can see the result in a couple of years. So we start, for example, now in Papua. My suggestion is IPSPI have the lot of power. Yeah? Now you know that your counterpart in the government, they work to different directions. The government is more like another NGOs. They have their own money. They want to do it by themselves. They don't want to empower others, and then especially at the local level. They forget about their mandate to also empower and capacitate the local level. Yeah? From the house level to the central level, they want to do it by themselves. They pay the salary for their own employees, not to the local government. While now there's not enough social workers at many districts. Yeah? Some districts only have 1, some districts only have 2, some districts have, of course, more than 50. Yeah? But minimum, how many social workers we need in its districts? Yeah. So the law said that each district should have, because this is the backbone profession of the mandatory business of the social welfare. How we can work to do this? It should be, we need the what you call it. You should use your power. We can support you to do this kind of social care system reform. I think that's what I would say.
Thank you. We'll take note of that. Anyone else? Sure, Yuan Women.
Thank you, and very interesting presentation. Actually, I'm curious related on the social works. You know, I'm working in the HIV response, especially. You know, in HIV response, there are many community outreach for the key populations, but I want to know if how the community outreach in HIV response could be recognized as a social workers, because I see that for the criteria it should be have a university university background certifications. Meanwhile, the community outreach in HIV respond mostly like from the high school, something like that. But how maybe uh, we can in the HIV response can collaborate to increase their recognitions in the work of the as a social worker in HIV response, and also because so many community outreach uh, in HIV response, and it's serving for the to support as people living with HIV, drug user, female sex worker, and also the transgender. So I think it's important to have these collaborations, and HIV also have one of biggest funding in Indonesia from the Global Fund, and hopefully that in the next year uh, the the community outreach in HIV response can be recognized as a social workers. Yes, yes, partner of the social workers, and if it's possible, so maybe can collaborate with the MOH also, UN Women, UNAIDS, and also I think with the WHO to support the HIV response. Maybe that's the first questions. And the second question is related on the stigma and discriminations on some disease, and especially for the HIV response, and maybe how we can collaborate related on this, because you know that UN Women also part of the global partnership of the stigma and discriminations in HIV response together with the UN AIDS and UNDP. Maybe we can also collaborate related on this. Thank you.
Thank you. We take note that very, very gladly. We'll respond to you later. Anybody else? WHO, what? You'd like to say something? And then I'll be to UNHCR.
Thank you, Pak Puji. And thank you for the presentation from it. Several, definitely we need to set aside a specific time to get to know better on your work. But for the initial introduction, we are very keen to understand, because you already presented a lot of work that you do at the ground level, yeah. And for us, from the health perspective, we understand at the ground level we also have cadres, right? Yeah, cadres that present you. So how's your current interaction with them? Because at the community level is there where the social and health issues intertwine and interact. We understand that by the way the Ministry of Health now have worked with the cadres, sometimes also touch on the social parts of the health issue, especially, for example, for TB. I also understand for HIV, they also assign cadres to work with the families to empower them. But I also heard from you that you also work on the here you say like the helping individuals to cope on the social aspect of the social consequences of the health, right? So how this interaction currently, and also I'm interested to understand how your current interaction with the health services, especially at the primary level. You already present your work at the hospital, which is referral level. And interested to know how the the engagement is initiated at the beginning. Is it the hospital initiative to engage with you, or it is you engage with them, or and then how you work with the patient, yeah. And other than transplantation, is there any specific work for the palliative? Because palliative is especially is outside of the institution. So we'd like to understand your work on that. Still have several others, but I think I don't want to. I don't want to take. I don't want to take this as a kind of like examination. Yeah. So it's just the initial.
Just something else, just something else to add to that. I mean, we've heard about the challenges that you're facing in terms of professional accreditation and working in recognition. But if you and colleague could share some examples where if at some level it has worked, where you have been able to work with the other agencies, the government at the subnational or district level, and what was that, and what really worked in that scenario that could be then somehow we could take some lessons and apply into our areas of work. I mean, as Siska said, we're very keen because for us the definition of health is also social well-being. And I think I just see throughout from the disease spectrum, prevention, screening, management, health promotion, health literacy. I think for us, the biggest thing is for people to know about their own health, which is very different than the education part, but the health literacy. Because sometimes I think that really then defines people's health-seeking behavior. It also defines the spectrum of care. It also defines how the fabric of the health system at the community level gets built up. So I'm very keen to also know about some success stories where you've been able to work with either at the local level, with the local government or the district government, and what were the synergies that worked? Because I think a lot of time we focus on challenges, but I think we also need to focus on where you have been able to make those inroads and if we use that for some scale up. So that's it.
Sure. Thank you. Last but not the least, UNHCR.
Thank you
Respond
so
all
much.
together later or
Okay.
tomorrow.
I'll be brief, but I just wanted to thank you, Papuji, and thanks to all the colleagues. I really learned a lot through the presentations. Thank you so much. Just the scope of the work that you're doing, the really important work. It's amazing. I learned quite a lot, and then also the breadth of where you're operating across Indonesia. It's really quite impressive. So yeah, for UNHCR, oh, and I also learned that you yourself are a UNHCR alumni, if that's correct. So I think you have a good idea of the refugee situation here, but just very briefly, Indonesia is hosting about 12,700 refugees from other countries. These are not people who have chosen to be here. They are forced to flee their country. They flee persecution and violence in their home countries and are offered safety here in Indonesia, which is very good. Indonesia offers that safety and protection, but for a very large extent, refugees in Indonesia are excluded socioeconomically, let's say, so they're unable to work legally. There are challenges in accessing public education. They're excluded from tertiary education, even health services, unable to access health insurance coverage, for example. So lots and lots of challenges that lead to high vulnerabilities among this population, as you can certainly understand, and all sorts of protection problems here. So as I was listening, I had lots of sort of thoughts and questions, but maybe just for brevity, I have one question and then just a few thoughts that jumped out in potential areas of collaboration. And my first question was just about the legal framework, the regulatory framework that you mentioned from 2019. I'm learning, so I didn't know about that. And my question is whether it has any specific mention of, Indonesian nationality or non-Indonesians being eligible for social work services. That would be interesting for us. And then just a big thank you. The areas that jumped out are, I want to make sure I have your name right. Is it Mbak Armi who mentioned the trafficking and smuggling? This is a huge area of work, very, very important, as I'm sure you're aware. In Aceh, as we speak, we are receiving boat disembarkations of Rohingya refugees who have fled Myanmar, sought safety in Bangladesh. The conditions in Bangladesh are terrible. They leave onward movement to Malaysia, and then frequently they will disembark here where they're offered protection. But because there are no safe legal alternatives for them to be able to move onward, they rely on smugglers and are very much at risk of trafficking as well. So we're just learning more about that issue in relation to this population, those movements. And it's certainly an area where I think we could learn a lot from you and your teams and potentially collaborate together. And then the other area I was really listening with a lot of interest is in medical social work. That's an area where refugees are for the most part excluded from secondary and tertiary health care and also mental health care. So I could see a lot of potential there to work together to increase inclusion of refugees. So those are just a few things. And then last but not least, I like that last quote that you shared. Help people to help themselves, basically, right? And particularly with refugees, because they are so excluded, we very much want to try to foster, that initiative and harness the contribution, the potential among refugee community to be able to help themselves. So we also, have sort of an idea to try to professionalize in some way the volunteerism, right? And certainly not to the level of a social worker, but it would be, possibly looking at how to train people within the community to support their communities because they have particular issues, language barriers, and try to professionalize that in some way with community volunteers or community outreach workers. So those are just my few reactions, but thank you again, really very much.
Let me just add a question as well to complement what Julia was mentioning. You said that there are about maybe 40,000, 25 to 40,000 social workers, but only 1,500 in the association. Why? How come? Because I guess that being part of the association provides also a number of, would say, benefit or interest for the person. And so what's happening? And also, as per the note that I was given, I understand that despite the fact that there is this new legislation from 2019, still the government has a perception that isn't that of a profession, and therefore employs or appoints non-social workers in some of this position where they should have a social worker. So can you tell us more about this? Thank you.
Ibu Valerie and colleagues, it's 3:55. I wouldn't like to take much of your time. We have to stick to this, but I'll tackle some of the most important, and then we promise you, we will reply to you in writing, right? Unless you would like to spend dinner with us at your expense, of course. No, let me start with the last one, Ibu Valerie. True, despite the law is yet to be translated into implementing regulations, right? That's one. It's still partial now. But number two, with the law on the autonomy, local government have latitude to hire whoever they would like to hire with an excuse. We could not find the social workers, so they could employ anybody. But the most painful part of it, the Ministry of Social Affairs itself are employing non-social workers for social workers' position. That disenfranchise us, the real social workers, right? Number three, our position has been demoted. The social workers who used to be supervisors of the district and others now being lumped together as pendamping. Pendamping is like facilitators, equal to anybody from high school graduate and technical and engineering. Again, there's another disenfranchisement from our side. And there are other policies that we have grudges against, but that's our reality of life. That being said, Ibu Valerie, we have difficulties to convince our colleagues what is the incentive of being a member of an organization. If we cannot render for them, this is the first time I hope that they feel proud having conversation with the UN. First in the history, right, that we have this visibility. But otherwise, we're totally underground, as you heard. None of you ever heard of our association. So we hope by this we try to pull them and give them the incentive. The law said every social worker must be a member of the organization, eventually, right? So we hope it will happen, but we have to offer really what kind of incentive for them. So that's interesting conversation in itself. So as I said, we will not respond to all of this question right now, since time is really against us. We will write and send you in writing, Valerie, to these questions. But let me just quick highlight. Julia, yes, foreign social workers could practice in Indonesia only if you become my friend. No, joke aside, we have to evaluate your qualification. Of course, we have to assess your legality and so on, and then we could issue you temporary practice permit. That's provided in the law. It's not yet in operations, but ASEAN will quickly become an open market in the coming years. We have to prepare ourselves. Even though with all of the shortcomings that I told you, Valerie, Indonesia remains to be at the front line for social work, actually, in ASEAN, right? Mas Akbar is part of the scheme where we built a social service workforce in which we leading in many of the conversations. So that for us is very, very exciting of how to, when you tackle Indonesia, most likely you'll tackle ASEAN. So that's the incentive. Julia, many, many years ago when I was much younger, we did talk about how to, as I said, we established Center for Displacement and Disaster Studies in 2003, and it's still alive now, but no longer connecting with UNHCR, sadly. We need to have some more conversation. But we did talk about the human trafficking in different spots before it was handed over to IOM. At that time, we even used your training, UNHCR training, to develop the emergency preparedness. And we used the UNHCR handbook for social workers to build our people. So we do have that love story with UNHCR when we were young. And now it's time to rekindle that one again. Colleagues, let me end there before I go too far. Colleagues, we will just, but before that, on the palliative, Mbak Lutri, you haven't.
Yeah, but the palliative social worker as the but palliative sector, the social worker working with people with terminal illness to get the quality of life to end of life, yeah, and social worker roles in the area to support the like the counseling support, something about what happened to get improve the quality, to get something about make the individual to happy, yeah, happy maybe like happy long, yeah, to go to the end of life, yeah, like the we call it the quality of life for them, and is the specific specific rule, yeah, and not everyone, not a social worker interest in the in this area, because you working with people with less 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 life, ya, less apa namanya, harapan, ya, hope, ya, yeah, let's hope, yeah, like this, and yeah, like this, and apa apa namanya tuh, dekat dengan always look at the people, the sad every day, every time, yeah, not the people with terminal illness, but significant other with family, like that.
Okay. All right, so there are a lot more to say about palliative care. It is an emerging practice in Indonesia. There are only a few of them, if at all, and Lutri is the front runner of that. With that, colleagues, a lot more exciting stories, but cannot be delivered now. Are you sure, Arnie? Well, I cannot say no.
Okay, thank you, Pak Puji. I just want to add about how to social worker working collaboration with other parts, as like question from UNODC, how to involve another parts in legal process and also in health services. I think in the experience of working of social workers, we working together, no one left behind, no part left behind. We involve them as our partners based on client needed. So whatever the client need to solve their problem, so we will access all involved in our problem solution. Like LPSK, also we involve in the justice process. Why? Because LPSK is the mandatory of legal process, and also in human trafficking and in the refugees, because refugees is international issues. So we also involve CAMLO, yeah, in the working system. So this is the system of the social workers working system in Indonesia. So we are not working alone. We also involve the peer educator or peer support group like HIV AIDS peer support group. We also involve them as partner of our college in social workers. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So without further ado, I would like to end here with a lot of thanks, colleagues, for sharing your thoughts and also some offer for collaborations. We'll embark on that. Ibu Valerie and Mbak Dian, Mbak Chandra, thank you very much for this organization. It's a real honor for us to be here, and we look forward to a more practical conversation after this. With that, let me end our part, and I'll hand over to Ibu Valerie. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Pak Puji, and I would like to also thank you, Pak Puji, and all of you who have come, and all the people who are online, and the colleagues from the UN agencies who have joined. Thank you very much. I think it was important to have this conversation. I'm very pleased. I like to be the first to do something, and I'm very happy that it's the first time, but I'm at the same time a bit sorry that for all those years that the UN has been in the country, there hasn't been such a gathering. But anyway, we started, so which is good. And I must say things started because you or your organization invited me to come to the Jamboree. And I could not go because I was traveling, and this is how Deandra went there, and then this is how the whole idea of having this meeting came about. So the credit goes back to you. As I said in my introductory remark, I think we are natural allies because we work on the same issues and we care for the same people. So definitely there is many areas of collaboration. I think through the question that my colleagues have raised, it's obvious that when it comes to, for instance, supporting the good policies or the good laws, we can work together because obviously there is still room for improvement. And you know that one of the work of the UN is also to support the policy making and the law making. So therefore, I think that there are many areas of collaboration on that. We can, of course, collaborate also on the issue of training. I mean, there are certainly a number of, I would say, capacity building that agencies can provide. And also, we can also use you as also for some training, because I'm sure it would be beneficial. Of course, I think there is an area of advocacy where we can work together, because the issues that have been raised, drug issue, for instance, and people, you know, it's an issue that we advocate a lot on, but there is still a big stigma that exists with people using drugs. And I must say on this issue of stigma, definitely count on us to do an advocacy on this issue and use our voice as well to help. But just I wanted to say that there is hope when it comes to social work, because I think it's an area of work that is and that will be more and more recognized. And actually, it's even if some people still undervalue it, you know that at the UN we do not. And actually, the International Federation of Social Workers has a special consultative status within ECOSOC. So so that's already a good thing. And I think UNICEF also has granted a special status to work. And my colleagues were telling me that the Forbes ranking indicates that social work is ranked as the 7th most meaningful type of work. So, I mean, look at that. I don't know which are the first 6 ones, but this is a great achievement. You're on the right track, definitely. So anyway, so I'm very pleased for this encounter of today, and I look forward to your answers in writing so that we can, because there were different questions, and I look forward to the continuation, and let's keep it going so that if it's, as I say, it's the first, but it won't be the last time we meet. Thank you very much to all of you, and thank you for this program.
To propose a very quick photo session, a very quick one. Yeah, it's the SDGs.